Cageside with John Morgan.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Cageside with John Morgan. I'm your host, Eric McMahon. If you didn't know, there was a UFC pay-per-view this past weekend in Manchester, England. A hometown boy didn't fare so well. We're going to dive into that. Also, Jon Jones, it looks like you may have a date with Tom Aspinall. I don't know if it's avoidable at this point, truth be told. UFC Noche was announced this weekend. We'll dive into all that. He was in Tampa for CFFC. I was in Vegas for some training. We're going to recap it all. Let me bring in the man, John Morgan. What's up, pal?
What's going on, man? Yeah, for us not being at the UFC event, we both had a lot going on, man. I made the cross-country trip out to Florida for CFFC 133. You came into town, got to work under the honorable Big John McCarthy, of course, and study with him, which I'm anxious to hear about your experience because I know that had to be great. And, man, we had a title change hands. We had a champ that looks like he's the next big thing. I mean, there was a lot going on.
Well, let's just dive literally right into it. We can then get into my training in your CFFC because I do want to hear about it. But man, Leon Edwards, champion against challenger Belal Muhammad, and right out the gates, we had preached on this show just 1 week ago. Listen, it's going to be extremely tough to take Leon Edwards down. There could not be anything further from the truth in our prediction of that fight. Now let's recap. We said it's going to be a boring fight because Belal Muhammad don't care, right? He's going to maintain position. He's not going to let any outside influences stop him from what his destiny is of being a champ. He doesn't care about getting finishes. He cares about getting dubs. That all played out like we thought. But how easy he was able to take down Leon Edwards was shocking.
Unbelievable. I mean, I literally, like, it was funny because my wife and I were sitting there kind of watching it together. And, I mean, 15 seconds in, there's already a takedown. I'm like, well, this just got very interesting. Like, I did not see that coming whatsoever. And it really set the tone. I mean, as you said, I think a lot of what we said played out exactly the way we thought it might. But that part of it right there, I just never saw in a million years. Belal Muhammad is going to come out and take this man down in the opening seconds, no problem. And what a tone he set in the early going, racking up those early 2 rounds. I mean, this was incredible, man. This was, we talked about a guy that had like the weight of the world, you know what I mean? That had everything behind him, that this was his destiny, that he was not going to, not make the most out of this opportunity. Man, he came out and fought like a dude that absolutely understood what was at stake, that he was there to claim his goal, you know what I mean? To fulfill his dream. And just, I was taken aback by the ease of the takedown early on. That was an incredible start for Belal Muhammad.
And then it was kind of rinse and repeat, right? And we said that if he gets success early doing one thing, guess what? He's not going to stop doing it. And he didn't stop doing it. But this is a puzzling fight, but if you really look at past history, it's not that puzzling of a fight either. We said just a week ago that Leon Edwards has the tendency to, if he doesn't feel like he's in ultimate danger, not get off the cage. Let's just change that position from on the cage to having his back taken. Yeah. If he didn't feel like he was in that much danger, he just kind of settled in, and he just let the clock go tick, tick, tick. And it was like, I know you have the capability of getting out of it. You've shown it in every single round, every single time you got taken down and you got your back taken. You showed the ability to reverse position and then gain ultimate control. You just always waited till it was too late.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
It's interesting, right? I mean, he talked about after the fight not feeling necessarily great, the entire week. It was a weird schedule. A lot of people are pointing to that middle of the night type fight for UFC 304. But look, you go back in history, 100 UFCs prior, UFC 204 was also fought in the same time in the middle of the night in Manchester, England, and 9 of the 11 fights were finishes. One of the ones that wasn't was the main event between Bisping and Henderson, which was an absolute battle. So, it may have been partially to blame, but I don't think you can say it was entirely to blame. It's just we've seen him in those positions a lot. Like, there's not this sense of urgency. Like, he does a great job of not getting finished. I mean, do I think that like Leon Edwards is sitting at home today, like just in an ice bath all day long because he's so sore and in pain and bruised up? Like, no, he wasn't in a lot of damage. He wasn't in a lot of trouble. He does a great job of staying out of those positions, but he doesn't have like that sense of urgency to just completely get out of them. And I need to dominate every moment, every second. And, Belal Muhammad, on the other hand, the cardio is not slowing down. He's never getting tired. He can go the entire time. And that's exactly what he did.
It was almost frustrating to watch as a fan. I'm going to take any cap off, whether it be a pundit or a ref or whatever. I'm just talking as a fan. It was kind of frustrating to watch as a fan because of the capabilities of Leon Edwards. And in my opinion, yes, Belal Muhammad had a ton to do with it. But I think it's his nature, Leon Edwards' nature, that had as much to do with it without him getting out of it. And like you said, he didn't work with any urgency.
Yeah, I hate to say that because I'm always so careful, right? Because people have to understand if you lay a criticism, it's not necessarily taking away from the greatness of the other person, right? So if you criticize Leon Edwards, which I think is just in this situation for not being a little bit more, pushing the pace a little bit more and trying to do things, it sounds like you're taking away from Belal Muhammad. Belal Muhammad deserves all the credit in the world, right? That guy was pushing the pace the whole time.
He out-relentless him and out-grappled him. All the credit.
Won every aspect of it. But yeah, I think this is something we've seen with Leon before. And listen, look no further than the fact that after the fight, Dana White was asked, hey, do we go trilogy now? I mean, does this thing have to be completed? And he was like, we're thinking about some other stuff right now from Leon. I think he needs to take a little rest for some time, maybe take some time away. I think that just goes to show you, that it just didn't seem like he was putting enough in and getting himself into those situations fast enough. So it was a little frustrating to watch, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and looking at it from a 30,000 foot view, like Dana White probably isn't that jazzed about the welterweight division right now.
No, it's tough. I mean, listen, Belal Muhammad is a deserving champion, man. This dude has put in the work, and man, I was honored to call one of his fights before he even got into the UFC, the last one. So I've seen that rise, and I've gotten to talk to him a lot behind the scenes over the years, and I just know how dedicated he is. And how much effort and work he put into getting to this point, but he's not the most marketable guy in the division, and that's we talk about it all the time, right? This industry is about more than just wins and losses. It's about the entertainment value and the pay-per-view sold and all those things. So I don't know that right now we have a lot of marquee matchups available, but I will say this, and I think this is one reason that it may be a good thing, is that now you start to introduce the new names, and Belal Muhammad said, listen, I'm going to be the guy that they want to be champion because. You say Shavkat Rakhmonov is the guy that everybody wants to fight. Okay, give me Shavkat. You say Jack Della Maddalena is the guy. Give me that guy. You know what I mean? He's talking about those new names. And so I do think you're right because on the surface, you look at it and you're like, man, how are we going to sell this next big pay-per-view Belal Muhammad? And you may say, oh, gosh, I don't know. But I think he's going to be, as long as that championship reign lasts, he's going to be great about introducing these new contenders. Whereas a lot of the champions that have been at the top, I mean, you've had Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, Leon Edwards now, for the last time, Gilbert Burns, if you want to throw that as well. They've kind of been that old guard, and it's been tough to get up to that new part. Now Belal is saying, hey, give me some of those new names. So that I think may prove to be a positive, and that it kind of helps turnover, because you need turnover in the division every now and then, right? You need some fresh faces, some fresh names, some fresh matchups. And I think that may be a benefit here.
Yeah, no, I mean, actually really looking at it from like that, I mean, Dana White's own words, though, he's like, it was no barn burner.
And it wasn't. I mean, you again, and I do not want to take away from what Belal accomplished, but it wasn't. I mean, it just wasn't that exciting. It was a Belal Muhammad fight.
I'm going to now go out on a limb and say I was thoroughly entertained by the fight. And here's the deal. It defied my expectation into it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. So now I'm saying he did it early. There's no way he could do it late. He did it late, just like he did it early. Oh, how the hell did Leon Edwards flip the script in round 3 and completely flip it, but then let it flip back? So it had so many like interesting subplots throughout this fight that I just found very fascinating and enjoyable to watch. Now, I understand if you're in the arena or you're somebody who doesn't nerd out to this shit like I nerd out to this, it's not a barn burner.
I was just going to say, I was going to say, it's so funny you say that because I was in the exact same position. Like, I get people that weren't entertained by it, and it wasn't the most exciting fight, but I was so intrigued by it, right? Because that immediate takedown, I go, oh my gosh, what? This wasn't supposed to go this way. Round 1 in the books, round 2 in the books. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's up 2 rounds to none right now. And then Leon comes back and wins round 3. I'm like, okay, here you go. Belal,
and decisively round 3 took us back in the first, minute and a half?
100%. And I'm like, all right, well, now we see. Now the champion slow started a little bit. Belal, man, you were on the edge of it, man. You got those first 2 rounds, but now it's going to go the other way. Oh, wait, round 4, back shifting the other way. Now Belal Muhammad's back in control. Round 5, you're like, well, here we go. He's going to cruise this victory. And then Leon gets the reversal, right? And he's pounded away. And you're like, does he have another miraculous comeback in the tank? Oh, my God. Could he potentially get another last-minute finish in a fight he's losing? So I'm the same as you. And I think it is because we literally are just absolute fight nerds that we're just like, even though it wasn't a barn burner, even though it's not going to be on any fight of the year list, even though you're not going to want to, hey, man, you've never seen MMA before? Go watch this, and I promise you'll be a fan. It wasn't that. But they had those ebbs and flows, and it had that intrigue. And ultimately, you had, an amazing kind of underdog story for Belal.
Yeah, and, good for Belal Muhammad. The guy will fight anybody at any time. And he said, as you said, who's the toughest? I'll take the toughest. Mm-hmm. And there was nobody, and there probably is nobody in the UFC outside of maybe one guy, and we'll talk about him later, who deserves the shot, who deserved the shot more than Belal Muhammad. I mean, he earned it. And then he delivered on the big stage in hostile territory at 5 a.m. He delivered.
I love it because you see so many guys, right? I mean, we get it. Look, this is a business, right? So people that are stars, they are going to get, as Tony Ferguson coined, Dana White privilege. You know what I mean? Like if you're a star, you're getting a little bit of a nod, you're getting maybe opportunities. And Belal always recognized that, look, I'm not a big trash talker. I may not be the flashiest fighter, but I'm going to beat everybody. And if I beat everybody, they can't stop me. And you hear people say that, but do you know how hard it is to actually go out and beat everybody? Like it's really, but he
no,
did.
I don't. Like, but it's hard.
It's very difficult. That's why nobody ever does it. Belal's the one guy that said, hey, I know I'm not getting the marketing push, so I'm just going to go beat everybody. And then what did he do? He went and beat everybody and got this opportunity. People wrote him off. He was getting booed all week. People were talking trash. He's not a big trash talker, but he was snapping back at least a little bit, trying and say, listen, man, keep that same energy because you're going to be crying on Saturday night. I promise you that. And, man, he went out and delivered, man. I got all the respect. And just you will not meet a better human being behind the scenes as well. Just, I mean, a dude that deserves it both for who he is as a human being and for what he put in the effort in the gym and the effort in the cage. It's awesome. It's a great story.
He's a great trash talker to me. He's funny. I think he's hysterical. Like, I honestly think he is hysterical.
He is. He is great. Well, it's not anything over the top. Like you're not getting any Conor McGregor.
Like MFing people, right? He ain't MFing people, and he's not like, I get what you're saying. He's not loud about it. He's not over the top. He's not flamboyant with it, but he's hysterical.
He is funny. He is really good. There's a reason the Anik and Florian podcast picked him up for a show of their own on their network, right? I mean, before he was anybody in the division, they were having a guy host his own podcast because he's that funny. He's very entertaining.
Yeah. So now Chicago's got a UFC champion. So, hey, congratulations, Belal Muhammad. I'm anxious to see what they have in store for Leon Edwards next. That remains to be seen, but I think a potential, Rachmanov title eliminator.
That'd be tough. That'd be a great fight. Hey, you know what? On that tip, how about the Belal Muhammad when they asked about Leon Edwards? Hey, do you want to do it back? He's like, maybe like 3 years. Let him work himself back up to it. I was like, oh, you remember?
Yeah.
He wouldn't get, he was so angry about it the whole time. He admitted it. He was taking this thing personal. So I love it. That is that like subtle trash talk, you know what? Let him work himself back up to it. Maybe we'll do it in about 3 years or so.
Yeah. Again, he's hysterical. Now, listen, we got to go to the co-main event because we had said, is Alex Pereira stealing that shine at the heavyweight division that could potentially get a shot at Jon Jones? And we both said, yes, he was. And the only way for Aspinall to get it back is to do something extraordinary and look spectacular in doing it. And you know what?
He did that. He did that. I mean, mission accomplished, bro. How about, I think both of us thought, hey, listen, we did say, hey, this is a competitive fight. No, most people were counting Belal Muhammad out. I think we both said, don't count him out. You know what I mean? Curtis, no, I'm talking about in the main event. But But I thought we said the same thing in the co-main event. Hey, don't count Curtis Blaydes out either. You know what I mean? Like, because I think we both saw that hey, the reigning champions here both are facing some stiff competition. Well, Belal Muhammad showed it. Curtis Blaydes did. For Tom Aspinall to go do that to Curtis Blaydes, I did not see that in a million years. Did I think Curtis Blaydes had a chance to win this fight? Absolutely. Did I think Tom Aspinall probably was going to win the fight? I did. I like Aspinall. I think he's that guy. He looks like he's that dude. He's destined to be champion. I did not think he was knocking out Curtis Blaydes in 60 seconds. Set him down with a jab. With a jab.
You're slow playing this a little bit, John Morgan. We kind of did predict this, though. We said this is going to play out in one of two ways. It's either Aspinall is going to get the very quick finish, a la the only way Curtis Blaydes loses, and the only way Tom Aspinall wins, or Curtis Blaydes can grind it into a second round. And if he gets it into a second round, it's anybody's fight from there. Right?
You're 100%. You didn't. You're 100% right. We did that. I just, to me, this was even, I don't know, man. This was just even more shocking. Aspinall is that quick finish guy, but 60 seconds off a jab, pounding. I didn't see it. I didn't see it that fast. That fast. Unbelievable.
Curtis Blaydes makes the walk first. Gets into the cage. You're like, that's a big dude. Then Tom Aspinall, you see him in the backstage. And I remember, like, as he was coming out of the backstage, walking into the arena, and the camera then turned and panned. And so now you have the crowd behind him and he's walking out. And I was just like, he may be the biggest guy I've ever seen in my life. Like the biggest, most fittest, athletic freak specimen. And I just was like, this guy is unworldly, like just put together.
He's the real deal, man. At that, and the athleticism that he has at that size as well. You know what I mean? I don't want to make a comparison to Brock Lesnar because that's a little weird in a lot of ways. And I know Brock wasn't the best mixed martial artist of all time, but as far as an athletic specimen at that size, that's kind of what it reminds me of. Like that dude is Tom Aspinall is a monster, but he's so fast and quick and just unbelievable at that size as well, man. And just tell me when I get to talk about his time on the mic. Tell me when I get to talk about that because that dude is so eloquent. It's so great.
Yeah, we'll get there. We still got to talk about what happened in the 60 seconds. All right? Because you saw a guy in Tom Aspinall. If you were going to look up supreme confidence in a dictionary, you watch the way he was just bouncing. He was not worried about the takedown. He was not worried about the guy's strike. He had zero apprehension about anything that Curtis Blaydes was going to do. And it showed in just his demeanor about, like, he wasn't, even in his hopping, he wasn't sinking down thinking that a shot may be coming. He didn't care. He was high and tight, loose on his feet, and then Curtis Blaydes, to his credit, came out throwing some heat. I ate one. No big deal. I'm going to hop. I'm not worried about anything. And then he put Curtis Blaydes right up against the fence as just a, look, I'm probably better than you here too.
Just to let you know, just in case you thought.
That's all it was, in my opinion.
Oh, man, the dude is so good. It's unbelievable. And then, like you said, look, Curtis was throwing, man. We saw that in their first exchange, right? Like we talked about, there was very little to take out of their first fight. But what you did come out of the first fight was that, like, hey, Curtis was throwing. He looked like he was moving forward. He was doing it here as well. And you're right, man. Just the slickness of it. I mean, it just reminds you of the Sergey Pavlovich as well, right? Like, I mean, this dude has faced some big, monstrous dudes throwing at him, and he slips out the way. He's confident in the pocket, and he's not hesitant. He returns fire right away. Not just slip and reset and, oh, I'm okay, let's start again. But no, slip, return fire, boom, on the money. And man, the jab set him down. I honestly, watching live, I thought it was the 1-2. I thought he hit him with a clean 1-2. And then you go back and you're like, no, jab set him down. Right hand didn't even land. He was already on his way down. And then unbelievable, gets on the back and just starts pounding away. Marc Goddard right on top of it, calls it. At first, you know, it's funny. At first, I was like, maybe could have let it go another punch or two. But, you know, Tom Aspinall was talking about in the back, and he's spot on. And Mark's such an amazing official, and he was right on top of it. But he's like, look, I got 250 pounds right on top of him. Like, where's he going? He's not going anywhere. Do you need the guy to go completely out and unconscious? Is that what we need to do here? Like, he was stuck. He was trapped, and he was taking some big shots from a big man.
I nerd out about officiating as well, right?
Of
so
course.
I'm going to make comparisons. All right. And I brought this up to John McCarthy yesterday. And I said, I want you to throw a comparison out there in the way Marc Goddard referees, and one that he got a lot of flack about in the Aljamain Sterling stoppage to O'Malley. And it was eerily similar here. And what was eerily similar was when the opponent turned his back. And I'm going to say this right now. Any high-level fighter, trained grappler, when you get hit, when you come up, the cardinal rule, do not turn your back to your opponent.
Ever.
That happened both times. Now, what that told me is that when that jab hit him and he came and bopped all the way back, albeit he did catch himself there, but that told me by him turning his back to his opponent to get up is that he wasn't there.
Right.
That jab did serious concussive damage to him. Because listen, a jab by me or you, may bloody our nose, split our lip. A jab by Tom Aspinall, and one that he hops into it, like bam, that's a whole different jab. I mean, that is a massive blow. And by the simple fact that it drops you, it puts you down, and then you don't have the wherewithal to say, I'm going to technical stand up, or I'm going to scoot back, or I'm going to do something. But you're saying, nah, I'm going to throw it out of the window. I'm going to turn my back and get up that way. That tells, me watching, that definitely told Marc Goddard, hey, the leash just went from here to here by that simple motion, because you are definitely concussed when you do that.
It's a great point, right? It's not, hey, let me make sure I scoop him up into my guard and just hold tight for a second while I shake out the cobwebs. You know what I mean? Like that's active, right? Like, okay, no, all right, no, let me see if I can hold him for a second, slow him down and sweep and get up that way. Or like you said, let me see if I can get a technical stand up. Let me see if I can hold him back away as I back up and get up. You're 100% right about that. I hadn't heard it put so eloquently like that and described so perfectly, but that's spot on. If that is, we talk about what is intelligent defense, right? I mean, is that intelligent defense? Like, is there any instructor anywhere that has ever told you, like in any form of legitimately in any form of martial art whatsoever, turn your back to your opponent and don't pay attention, especially if they have the ability to strike you. Don't worry about tracking those shots. Don't worry about seeing where those are coming from. Just turn your back and try to push up and get to your feet. It's not good. It's not good. And again, we're talking about Tom Aspinall here. These are heavy, heavy shots.
Now, if you go back to the Aljamain O'Malley stoppage, it was after a lot of blows, and I do think that it was a great stoppage, and I understand what Marc Goddard was looking at, but I do think Aljamain was still okay, and he kind of just said, screw it, I'm going to try and get up this way, and that's when it jumped in. But the bigger point is the same motion happened in both fights, right?
And what do you always ask for, right? Just consistency. Yep, 100%. That's all anybody can ask of anything. I just need to know. You know what I mean? In any sport, right? Is the strike zone this big or this big? You know what I mean? Is the touch a foul or it's not a foul? It can't be one way and not the other. You know what I mean? I just need you to do the same thing every time. And you're right. He's doing the same thing every time.
All right. How eloquent was Aspinall on the mic?
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, because I've been holding myself back. I love this guy. Hey man, do you got a message for Jon Jones? Not talking trash, not talking anything about you. I just think I'm better than you. I think I can beat you in a fight, and I want to prove it. I'm not questioning you. I'm not trying to degrade your legacy. You're the greatest of all time. I'm not trying to pretend you're not. I'm not trying to. I mean, that is the most simplistic, but direct and effective challenge I've ever heard in my life. I don't need to talk trash about you. I'm not making this personal. I'm not talking about your family. I'm not talking about your mom. I'm not talking about all the things that people talk about you, right? I'm not talking about the things that you've had happen to you outside of the sport. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I just think I'm better than you, and I want the chance to prove it. I mean, amazing. And in that action as well.
Not like that guy for that.
I love it. That just to me is amazing. This guy is absolute superstar, man. I mean, this is the total package, man. He is incredibly well spoken. He's incredibly intelligent. He gets the game. He's a phenomenal fighter. This is the guy. And
he looks the part. I mean, if you want to talk about in wrestling terms, a white hot baby face, like this guy is a white hot baby face, right? Just like he's when you say the total package, we're not just talking about fighting.
No, I'm talking about everything.
The total package.
This dude, I mean, the sponsorships are about to come flying in, man. If companies were not aware of this man before, they need to jump on board. You want this dude representing your brand. You want this. I mean, this dude is the man. And how about the fact that Dana White was asked, can we make him the backup in what we think is going to be Madison Square Garden for Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic? And he said, we would be stupid not to. And I love the fact that Tom Aspinall said, I'm keeping myself ready. I will be ready to fight anybody in November. It's one thing, but he'd easily, look, he's won the interim title. He's defended the interim title. He could easily go, I'm not taking any backup role. A lot of people are calling him the real champion. Now, I do think it's not fair to say he's the real champion. If you want to say that you think the interim title has more value right now, or that whatever, that you think he's deserving of being considered champion, I 100% get that. You can't take away the lineage of the title. Jon Jones is the undisputed champion of the world. He did win that title fair and square. You can't just automatically change the lineage. But I love the fact that Tom Aspinall is coming out and not saying, no, I'm not taking a backup role, not saying, no. He's saying, yeah, I'll take the backup role. I'll be there, and I'll make myself ready because that might be my opportunity. And whether it's Stipe, whether it's Jon, whatever it is, I'll be ready and I'll fight anyway. This guy gets it, man. This guy gets it.
Is there any scenario that you see Stipe pulling out, let's call it day before, that Jon Jones Yep, I'll take this Tom Aspinall fight tomorrow? Do you see any scenario in the world where he would agree to that? And I'm not saying it because I think Jon Jones is a wuss, anything but. I say it because Jon Jones is smart. He's, it would not be a smart move for him to do. Now, whether he gets backed into a corner and has to is another story, but
it's interesting, right? Because you can say that without even having personal opinion. You can just say UFC 151. Jon Jones turned down Chael Sonnen on short notice because he didn't want to take a short notice replacement, right? He's meticulous about the way he prepares. He's meticulous about the way he studies. He talks about it. He'll watch inordinate amounts of film to identify little tendencies and to identify little patterns so that he can maximize every opportunity that he has in there to utilize everything he has. So from that perspective, he's been incredibly intelligent. I mean, we all as fans respect the anybody, anywhere, anytime guys, right? But very few anybody, anywhere, anytime guys are undefeated, right? Because of that very record. Jon Jones is, for all intents and purposes, undefeated, right? Because he meticulously studies every opportunity he has. So that is a unique part about it, right? And thank you for raining on my parade, because I had been so excited about the thought of him being the backup fighter. But you're 100% right. If something happens to that fight, Jon Jones not going to take that fight on a couple of days. Even if Tom Aspinall says I'm in, there's no way Jon Jones is going to take that week of. He just won't.
He's got too much to lose, legacy wise.
100%, and that's what I'm saying. And even you, and you're 100% right. So what if they back him into a corner? But I'm thinking, what leverage would you use on Jon Jones? Hey, Jon, if you don't do this, we're stripping you of your title. Be like, again? I mean, how many things you got to strip of me? You know what I mean? I'll just go win it back later. Yeah. Oh gosh, I'll just go win it back later. How about that? I've done that every time. You could say, well, Jon, this is a huge payday that you're going to miss out on. Got millions in the bank, bro. I'm okay. You know what I mean? So I don't know what leverage they would have other than try to appeal, because you're right. He has that leg. I mean, if Jon never fights again, how would you argue that he's not the GOAT? He just is. Like you look at how long he dominated a division, it's unbelievable. So I don't even know what leverage they would use on him to back him into a corner. But you're right, he has too much to lose. His legacy is too big.
Now, does it tarnish his legacy if he avoids fighting Tom Aspinall?
It gives Tom Aspinall bragging rights. That's for damn sure. You know what I mean? I was thinking about that from Tom Aspinall's point of view. Let's say, Stipe gets hurt and or pulls out and John goes.
No, and I'm not talking about on short notice. I'm talking about in general. Okay. Because this is a fight that we said everybody is going to want to see, especially if Tom Aspinall does something special, at UFC 304, like he did. Now everybody is on if you weren't on the Aspinall hype train, you sure as hell are now. And it all leads to one place. And that one place is the GOAT, Johnny Bones Jones. And with that being said, if Johnny Bones Jones, say, dispatches of Stipe and says, I'm good, would Madison Square Garden boo? You as sports writers, and not you because you're too classy of a guy, but would, let's just call it, with the Ariel Helwanis of the world, with everybody saying he's running from this?
Oh, hell yeah, they would. And it's not. I mean, that's the hard part, right? I mean, you're talking about, 37-year-old Jon Jones now. You know what I mean? You're not talking about the in his prime. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's, been fighting in the UFC since, 2008 when he came? Yeah, 2008. The guy's been in the UFC for 16 plus years now. I mean, and he's beaten. I mean, literally has beaten everybody, has fought everybody. So I'll be honest with you, people would say that it would be. I was thinking about it because you say, would it impact his legacy? It's so hard, right? Because you can't take away what he's accomplished. You know what I mean? There's always going to be somebody else coming up. There's always, if he goes out and beats Tom Aspinall, now granted, right now, I don't know who that somebody else would be, but there would be somebody else where they're like, hey, but what about that guy? You didn't beat him. Although if he beats Tom Aspinall, that's pretty damn good. Yes, it would. It's not, it's so hard because you can't take away.
There's always somebody next. Yes, there's always somebody next, but through trial and fire, somebody rose above them. I can't tell you in recent history of somebody who has exponentially been like, what we see now is there is a enormous gap between Aspinall and the rest of the division. So yes, there would always be somebody, but I don't think the somebody with the hype train, everybody looks at Aspinall and says, this is a freak.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. Because if you beat Aspinall, because I'm looking at the ranking, I pulled up the rankings just to see, is there anybody, I mean, you go, if Jon Jones, okay, so Tom Aspinall, obviously, Cyril Gane, he already beat him. Then you go Volkov, Blaydes, Pavlovich, Stipe, he would have beaten Stipe, Almeida, Tibura, Sergey, Ty, Lewis. I mean, none of those names, you're not going to go, well, John didn't beat that guy. It's just Tom Aspinall. Now, the only name that might be, oh my God, if John, now you want to talk about greatness that they might as well shut down the sport because we don't even talk about it anymore. What if Jon Jones beat Stipe, beat Tom Aspinall, and then Alex Pereira decide he is going up to heavyweight and John beat Alex Pereira? I mean, that's the only thing I can say. If you beat Aspinall, I could still see somebody saying, yeah, but Alex Pereira is moving to heavyweight and you haven't beat him yet. And he's the scariest dude and you're walking away and you're scared of him. But
I don't think anybody in their right mind wouldn't say that. But I do think plenty of people in their right mind would say that about Aspinall.
I agree.
And it's just like, Aspinall is just that. I texted it to you that night. Aspinall is that guy. He is so freaking impressive. It's ridiculous.
There is no fight I want to see in the sport more right now than Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones. There's no fight I want to see in the fight in the sport more right now than that.
Did you see Jon Jones's tweet? And if you don't, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it to everybody anyways. But have you seen it?
But read it out. Read it out.
All right, hold on. Let me get my busted up phone because I've dropped it so many times. Now listen, this is classic Jon Jones.
Has he deleted it yet?
No. Well, okay. The one that I have, right?
I was gonna say, that's classic Jon Jones. Tweet and delete.
Oh, yeah. Supply and demand at its finest. I love it. What he is saying with that tweet, supply and demand at its finest, I love it, is saying, you know what? I make the rules. I make the calls. It's what I want to do. I'm the value, so I dictate. You guys are demanding me, but there's plenty of supply out there for me to choose from. So Aspinall, because you're the shiny new toy, doesn't mean that I have to go jump and buy it. That's exactly what he's saying.
But I mean, listen, you and I have been talking about this for a while, and I think more and more people are talking about it, especially after this past weekend. People are talking about it. Like, if Jon Jones goes out there and does what I think most of us believe he'll do to Stipe, the clamoring for that fight will be unbelievable. I wonder, to the point that, I mean, Jon Jones can easily step back and say, guys, have you looked at my track record? I have absolutely nothing to prove. Sit down. I'm out. Appreciate it. Thanks for the cheese, like Conor McGregor, right? But this seems to be the fight that would play to Jon so much that's just like, oh, that's the big bad wolf? I've been up in here for 16 years, dominating everybody, wrecking shop since I was a baby in the sport, and you're saying that's the guy right there? So if I beat this guy, you finally have to shut your mouths and say, I apologize, Jon Jones. You are the GOAT. I'm sorry. Is that what you're telling me? Because
and give me a $50 million payday to even consider it.
That's coming with some cash. That's coming with some cash.
They walked away from Ngannou and Jon Jones because the demand of money allegedly was too high. Could they even possibly, like, Jon Jones could say, I'm only doing this fight for a guarantee 50 mil. What does the UFC say?
Do you want that in a cashier's check, or would you like it wired? How do you do that? Yeah,
but that'd be crazy money. That'd be crazy money.
But I mean, now you're talking about, like, I know, and Francis Ngannou, God bless him for what he was angling to do, but I think he became a bigger star once he left the UFC than he was at the time when he was in it, getting those big global opportunities. I don't think it would have generated the revenue. I think this generates the revenue, and I think the UFC does that deal. I think, I think Ari Emanuel calls the office and says, Dana, Hunter, appreciate all you're doing. I'm taking over from here. We're getting this thing done. This thing speaks to everybody. We're taking, the baddest dude on the planet, and we're putting him up. I mean, just, they do this
as
fight.
A Cowboy Stadium, Allegiant Stadium show.
100%. Absolutely. Yes, you are 100% right. That is a stadium headliner. 100%. 100.
Chances we ever see it?
Don't make me say no.
50?
50-50. I'm going 50-50. 50-50.
I could see Jon, honestly, just saying no to troll him. No.
It's true. It is true. Look, what I would say is this. 50-50, and if he trounces Stipe, it goes way up. If he gets tested by Stipe and he's limping out of there and it's a gut check and he's pushed to the limit, then I don't know. But if he goes out there and trounces Stipe, I mean, I just feel like the buzz and the paychecks and everything involved would be too big. That is absolutely a stadium show. That is 100% a stadium show. International Fight Week next year, Allegiant Stadium, though, instead of T-Mobile Arena.
Do you think the Brinks trucks are backing up to Jon Jones's house right now and Stipe's house right now saying, let's reconsider if we want this fight to be next. We're going to pay you both as it happened. So here's a huge bag of cash not to fight.
I don't think the UFC is going to give him that step aside money, but if I was running the organization, that would definitely be my call. Like, Stipe, what's it going to take for you to just not take this fight? But I mean, Dana's been dead set on this thing ever since. I mean, how many times have we asked them, like, hey, maybe we move on? No. This is the fight. This is the fight. And we've talked about why I think that is. I think both guys are saying it's the only fight they're interested in. And both of them could say, if we're not fighting each other, then we walk away.
Listen, I've been arguing that point in a full agreement for the past year.
Right.
Stipe, for all widely regarded purposes, my favorite fighter. Right? Saturday changed the game. It changed it.
I agree.
This Stipe Jon Jones fight in November is not the Stipe Jon Jones fight last November. It does not mean anything. It means honestly, it means nothing right now. Zero, zip, zilch, nothing. It means nothing.
I agree. I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you. And I hate to say that, but it's just the truth. The fight to make right now is Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. That's it. That's the fight to make. That's the fight that sells the pay-per-views, that sells the tickets. I would love, to be honest, I would love to see them change it. I would love to see them change it now more than ever. Even before Saturday night, I would have seen it. But you're right. That just solidified it even more. That's the fight to make. I don't see him doing it, but crazier things have happened. They do have shareholders to answer to.
Paddy the Baddy looked impressive. Choked out King Green and broke his arm at the same time, which was pretty shitty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's just say that sucks. Here's what I got to say. Did Paddy look bigger? Did he look more muscular? Did he look like more of a man?
Yes.
And his hands looked great too.
That was his best UFC performance by far. And I know we didn't, we're talking about 3 minutes and 22 seconds, but it was a hell of a performance. There's a reason Bobby Green shot a takedown. There was no way that was in the game plan whatsoever. There's no reason he should be shooting. But I think he was a little bit frustrated by the hands, by the low kicks, by everything that Paddy was doing on the feet.
I don't think he understood the length was there. Paddy 100%. Looked phenomenal.
Paddy looked absolutely fantastic. Waiting on the rankings updates to come in, but would certainly expect him to break into the rankings. And the dude is gold on the mic. And then, just the things he does, talking about mental health, he's got the armband for the young kid, talking about Chatty the Baddie. And it just the guy, I know a lot of people hate him. And he even said it in the post-fight press conference, which I thought was funny. He's like, people love to doubt me because I look like a 14-year-old girl, which I thought was a hilarious line. But he knows that people talk trash about him, but the guy's the real deal, and he is a budding superstar, man. People respond to him. He's great on the mic. This was a great performance. It's not the greatest dancing, but it gets the job done. It definitely looks
his honestly, his little butt thingy is kind of cringe. I will say that.
It's kind of cringy, the whole dance thing. It's definitely like drunk frat dude at the party or whatever, but it's funny. It gets the people going.
I was a drunk frat dude at a party, and I never did that.
You didn't dance like that.
All right, listen, don't put us in a box there, John Morgan.
He's great, though. That was a phenomenal performance. That dude's a budding star, man, and doubt him no more because King Green is legit.
All right, we got to get out of here a little quick today, but Dana White said, hey, I'm going to have a huge announcement on my Instagram on Friday in the next hour. The next hour, came and went. And then finally we get another announcement saying, tickets are on sale Monday.
That was so great. The massive announcement is stay tuned. We're going to have an announcement.
And by the way, tickets are on sale on Monday.
Unbelievable.
But with that being said, USA Noche in the Sphere, the one of one, never to be duplicated, replicated show that is going to put all other shows in any venue, any way, shape, or form to shame. The Sugar Show takes on Merab Dvalishvili in the main event, co-main event. Alexa Grasso, Valentin Shevchenko, Ortega Lopez gets rebooked. What do you think?
I love it. I love this card, man. Obviously, O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili is a title fight that we've been wanting to see. It's one of the biggest fights you can make right now. They've been doing a great job of hyping it up, selling it, that sort of thing. Mexican Merab, man, it's like he's been slow playing this whole thing. He's been all building up to it. He's like, I'll be Mexican Merab, so he's been doing that. You get a second title fight, Alexa Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko, the trilogy, man. They've had such just an interesting series between them, and then the rest of the card looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I love it. And I think I've seen people critical of the card. I think you're stupid. I think this is a really good card. And what people need to I don't think the people that are criticizing this just don't understand how much of the greatness and bigness and insanity of the show is going to be the Sphere itself. It is going to be amazing.
The main event is the venue. The main event's the venue.
That is it. And that's what I don't think people are getting about it. I saw a lot of people were like, oh, this is the one-off greatest combat sports show of all time. Like, this is it. That's not, it is. And it's not just about the lineup. It's about the fact that this is going to be the most insane presentation of combat sports you've ever seen in your life. And it'll never happen again because of how expensive it is. And it's going to be unbelievable. So I love this lineup. I've seen some people criticizing it, and I just don't get it. I think it's stupid. I love the fights that are happening, but you're right. The main event is the Sphere itself, and just the whole event itself. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. I think there's going to be some cool events around it. So I am looking very much forward to September.
I as well, for everything you just said, but I want to see the spectacle. Like, I personally wanted to see Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway. That's what personally I wanted that main event, because I want that fight to come sooner. Like, I just want it to come sooner. That's the only thing.
And I get it, but there's twofold. Number one, it does look like Islam Makhachev is hurt and not going to be able to fight in Abu Dhabi, so it makes sense to have Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway there. So October, so you only have to wait about a month. But the other thing too is, and I know it may sound silly or dumb, but Ilia Topuria as a Spaniard, I don't think you can't put a Spanish fighter on Mexican Independence Day. You know what I mean? I just don't think you can do that. This is our love letter to Mexico and combat sports. But by the way, the country you had to fight for your independence from, they're going to be represented in the main event. So sorry, hope you like it. I just don't think you can do that
against a non-Mexican.
Right? You couldn't do it. Yeah. If you had a Mexican versus a Spaniard. Ooh, that now you're talking, right? Now you could do that, but yeah, you couldn't do that. So I don't think you can do it. So I think, and again, and like I said, we're hearing that Islam Makhachev, he's nursing some hand injuries. He did an interview this past week where he said he's got some ligament issues, so he's not 100% sure for Abu Dhabi, and so that's a fight that I'm sure that they would like to have over there for sure.
Makes sense now. Didn't know that. Thanks for filling us in. That's why you are the best in the freaking game. With that being said, really quick, CFFC in Tampa this past weekend, how was it?
Amazing, man. Great night of fights, really was. If you can go back and watch the replay on UFC Fight Pass, do that. But if nothing else, man, if you can get a chance to go watch the main event between Robert Watley and Marquez Forrest, amazing. Robert Watley, the incumbent champion, Marquez Forrest, the undefeated interim champion, and the younger undefeated guy, rushed out to the lead, and Robert Watley showed his courage, showed his heart, and then battled back. And then it was interesting because I was doing the in-cage interviews as well because Punk wasn't there. So I went to go interview him, and I'm like, hey, this is amazing. What's next? And he's like, for me, man, he's like, I got it right or wrong. He's like, I want to get that invitation back to the PFL. And I'm like, well, we are on UFC Fight Pass, like maybe the UFC. And he's like, nope, it's either PFL or I'm retiring. He's like, I don't have much left for this. He's like, I want to go right that wrong I had. And he was like, so PFL or that's it for me. And I respect it. I respect his commitment to, like, he got there before, and he's like, look, that's my, I know I don't have a lot of time left in the sports. That's my quickest chance to the biggest payday, to try to go in the season. But it was kind of funny to be on UFC Fight Pass, and the guy's just like, I want PFL or I'm out. But it was a hell of a fight. How about you? I know you can't go into it. Maybe we have to do like another
episode. I got to train with Big John this past weekend.
Yeah. I know we can't talk about it all, but how amazing was that?
Amazing. One thing, would you say I have a very wide, big, monumental knowledge of this game, the nuances of the game, the rules, things of that? Would you say that?
100%. 100%.
I learned more the last 3 days
than
I did my entire career in combat sports. And I can confidently say that. Damn.
That's strong words right there. I don't think you can give it any bigger of a thumbs up than that. That's incredible, man. Now I got to do this. I got to go do this course.
Dude, it just, and it wasn't necessarily like any curriculum. It's just, he'll ask, this is the thing about Big John. He's intimidating as hell.
Yes, he's big. There's a reason they call him Big John.
And then the way he'll talk to you, he's like talking through you and just like,
Former cop, you know what I mean? Like former cop, so he's got that.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're in Terry. He never would answer my question. If I have a question, hey John, what about this? He will always answer. He always answered my question with a question, made me work it out. And then if I got the answer wrong, he literally is like, no, who in the F told you that? What? No. And he would like yell at me. And I'm like, And then another thing, and then I'd get the answer right, and he goes, "Hello, hello," and I'm like, "So did I get it right?" Like even when I got it right, I was terrified.
Oh, that's great. I've heard him do these things over the years in conversations behind the scenes. So that's absolutely amazing. What a guy. Great dude, man.
Yeah, great dude. And like literally, I was so excited to take this course. It exceeded all of my expectations. Test was hard. I'm gonna wait to see if I pass. It's gonna be crazy that I'm licensed all these places and I may have even failed his test. I don't know.
Oh, but I think he says he has like a 90-something% failure rate the first time around, right? Like, I mean, it is an insanely hard test. So I'm anxious. I didn't know you didn't
pass. You have to pass with a 90%. That is passing.
Wow, that's unbelievable, man. That's great. But it's so cool, right? Because like I was trying to think, it's like where did you learn your jiu-jitsu from? Oh, I was training with Elio Gracie. Like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it's the lineage of the sport. It's not, well, I got past, my instructor learned from that guy who learned from that guy who learned from that guy. I mean, you're learning from the guy who literally built the job. You know what I mean? Created the rules, created what's done. So I mean, that is awesome. Now I'm just jealous. I got to do that. I got to find out when his next one is, and I got to do it, man.
What you got going on this weekend?
Not much, man. Hanging out. This is a light one. We got a UFC this weekend, but it's early in the day, right? It's over in Abu Dhabi, so I'm hanging out. It's good. I'm gonna go check into the Fontainebleau this afternoon. Have a little staycation with the family to before the kid goes back to school. So we're gonna go have a little nice, entertaining couple of days here in Vegas, and then chill out here at home. And before the schedule, I cannot wait to tell you what the schedule is for the fall for CFFC between MMA, college wrestling, Muay Thai, submission grappling. It's gonna be amazing. So we're gonna sneak in a couple of days while we can. How about you? A little less crazy this weekend?
No.
Okay.
I'll be in the PFL Smart Cage on Friday night, live on ESPN.
Awesome. I will be tuned in, my man. I will be watching for that.
And then, and John McCarthy will be like commentating it. So it's like no extra pressure after just taking his course.
That's actually pretty funny, man. He's like, God forbid you make a mistake. And he's like, this guy right here, I saw what an idiot he is this past weekend in Las Vegas. I don't know how they let him out here, man.
Yeah. And then Saturday, I got my daughter's three-year-old birthday party. So I'm tremendously excited for that. Yeah. That's anyways, awesome. With that being said, for John Morgan, I'm Eric McMahon. Enjoy the fights. Boom.